It's going to be a short one, short and quick. What you call a quickie. It's going to be an esoteric quickie. It's going to be an esoteric quickie in the morning. You know what I'm saying? So we're about to finish our walk. And as we finish our walk, before we get there, we are like how many kilometers from my gate? We are like 2 kilometers from my gate. 2 kilometers, I'll be home. Yeah. So I have a question for you, because I've been saying this for a long time, that you don't have a culture. So there's no way the people who are taking you over could have left without destroying your culture. Your culture. Remember, these are the same people who write books like when you crush your enemy totally. And we just found a walking stick. So we are going to walk with this stick. So this will be the word. So now this is me being like Moses now, okay? I'm like Moses now, walking with a stick, a word, a thought. Now, these are the same people who wrote the books like when you crush your enemy, make sure that you crush your enemy totally. Don't leave your enemy walking. These are the same people. And how do you know this? They can show you. They can show you. In life, they can show you. How do they show you? When you look at people like Saddam Hussein, may his spirit, whatever happens to him, rest in peace. When you look at people like Gaddafi and all these other people, whenever these people go after you, they not only destroy you, but they make sure that they destroy your family too. What do I mean? They make sure that no seed will ever come out of that home to kuhedhuka, to germinate again and become a pain in their ass. A pain in the ass. So when you look at your history, I'm speaking about you, the Kikuyus, you will realize that your chiefs were buried upside down. These are stories. Usisahau hizi ni stories, because you are not there to see it or witness it. Hizi ni story mnasikianga ati ardhi kilo upside down hata kinyete mobadha. These are news. You are given news. The same way there are unmarked graves at Kamiti or Kemet or Kamitha. So all these are stories. Remember, the greatest stories ever told. Now, that's not important. Now, you have to understand that before these people left, they totally destroyed your culture. You were raped, pillaged, and totally destroyed, aka they left you in a state whereby they knew that even when they are gone, you are going to practice that on yourself. You are going to self-implode, because they showed you how to create a cult. Now, there's a live, or there are some videos that you see on TikTok at the Mau Mau doing the Gedadi rituals. And I want you to think, who was recording these rituals in 1929? Because everything that you see is updated and maintained for a reason. For a reason. At the Mau Mau taking an oath, sijui Mau Mau doing the Gedadi oath. Na huyu mzungu amerekodi in 1920. Sasa unaona video imeanza. The Mau Mau were showing people how to take oaths. There is no, okay, think about it like this. When you know what an oath is, when you know what an oath is, then there's no way anyone who has taken an oath. We have a lot of gooseberries here. Let me see if there are any ripe ones. A lot of gooseberries. Hakuna yenye iko ripe. But you can see them. Unaziona gooseberries. You can see them. A lot of gooseberries, but hakuna yenye ime ripen. Nature provides. It's always in nature. Gooseberries is good for your testes as a man. All this is gooseberries. It's good for your testes as a man. Anything that has a lot of seed as a correspondence is a part of you that has also a lot of seed. Hii ndio inaitangwa the meridian. This is good for the ladies. This is purple, tears of Heather. When wako Kemet, wanaongeanga maneno ya tears of Heather or Bruva vein. This is Bruva vein. This is good for the ladies. Also good for the men. Na niliona, acha niache kuonyesha hiyo. But anyway, let me show you. So everything that is medicinal in nature grows together. This, mnajua hii, si ndio? You know this. So whenever you see this, hii hapa ndio tulitoa the idea of a pharmacy. So from there, all the way to there, this is a pharmacy. Because everything here will have a lot of yellow or medication. This, as a correspondent to your solar plexus, is next to see this one. This one, nio muronagira. Muthirithiri, mureragwo nio African tea. Like this is what you should have been drinking instead of tea, native to your land, or coffee. This is what you should have been taking. But we are not there. Let's stick to the live, okay? So, when these people came and raped and pillaged and destroyed your culture, totally, your culture was not left standing. No one should lie to you that they gave up or they left because you defeated them. You never defeated them. Otherwise, you wouldn't still be doing the things they taught you. But that's not the point. So I want to ask you a question. Are you sure you are not in a cult? Are you sure the culture that you are so hell-bent on protecting or upholding, are you sure you are not in a cult? Because I'm going to show you how a cult is created. Esoterically speaking or spiritually speaking, how do you manifest a cult? So that when now I show you how, you can sit back and look at your culture and think, wait a minute, I have actually been in a cult where a culture is cultivated from a cult. The word culture comes from a cult, things that people follow blindly or obediently because they are born in that na vitu kama hizo. That's where we are going. Now, whatever I'm going to say on this live, it's not for everyone, okay? It's not for everyone. We understand that we have spiritual babies. The same way in the world we have children, we have babies. The same way when you go into the bushes and the world, you are going to find nature has provided. Let's first of all eat some fruits. Munaziona. See them. Matunda ndio hii. Out of mass energy. Because tukule matunda. And I'm thankful and grateful for the bird that came and shit here. Again, that is not for everyone to understand venye nimesema. Ndake nyoneji yaliria ciarite matunda maya. Todo neji yali. Yalia ciarite neji yali. And if you grow in a place where you have a lot of this plant, mometaga adare, you can dry the leaves. They are very expensive when it's turned into a powder. And shout out to all the alchemists to know how to use it. Cha kwanza ni kule matunda. And I have to give back. Tasty. Beautiful. Ni mingi memea huku kwa barabara. Lots of them, Yeah. You have to work to make money to go and buy that from a market, or you can grow it. You always have to be vigilant when you're on an empty road. It doesn't matter where, you always have to be vigilant. Si ati unasikia pikipiki na unatembea tu na simu bila kuangalia. You have to turn a certain way. Ulinzi unaanza na wewe. As an education, for educational purposes only for you, because no one is going to rob me. Okay, no one can rob me. Kuna mtu anaweza ni rob. Anyway, far for. When you're unajua ni kusema nini, far for. Fuck around and find out. Okay? Far for. So, back to the live. So those who this message is not going to resonate with, it's okay. We understand where you are spiritually. The same way tumesema we have birds that are young, we have children, we have different stages of development, as above so below. Even in the spiritual world, we have spiritual babies. So if this is not for you, tafadhali, keep it moving. Now, class in session. Now I know by now you are ready with your books, you are ready with your notes, or you are tapped in so that you can answer your own question. Are you in a cult? Or the culture that you are following, is it a cult? Or are you on the right track? And then, wewe mwenyewe ndio uta decide. After that, you will decide, hello, you will decide whether you are in one, how to maneuver, adapt, or even create your own culture. Everything has an expiration date. Tuanzie hapo. It's common sense. What has a beginning has an end. And that end is not the end of life. Tonekure kidu gitago otoro, otoro, otoro. Otoro ni what has always been there. What was there, what is here, and what will always be. Usionebu otoro. Otoro. Nago odoire is how you have always been. The characteristics, the nature. Odoire. Now ni kore otoro. In the beginning, inside that beginning, otoro ne o beginning. Odoire. B is something you are going into. Bethel or Bethlehem. So in means inside something. So inside the beginning, the beginning has to come second. That's why the word be begins that word. Those are enough disclaimers now, but the disclaimers were necessary. Ndio tukianza kuongea, you don't get lost. And shout out to everyone in the comments. I'm getting closer to the road. I didn't want to get so close to the road because of the borders. So, and there's nowhere for me to finish this. So I'm gonna, let me see. Let me look for a spot that I can do this quickly, and then we can continue with our walk, and then we can go. We don't want distractions, eh? That's a distraction. That's a car starting. So we're gonna do it here. It's actually, the gate is number 2. So we are going to make it relatable to be. Now, everything has an expiration date. When you die, because one day you are going to die, aka what you call a transformation, where you're going to leave this body and go into another shape or form. Whether you believe you're going to go to heaven or hell or wherever they are going to take your body, who cares? So your body is going to return to earth, aka muere, otwaro keverera, back to the soil. And the spirit is going to transition into another state, aka mehomo, your breath, your spirit. Mehomo, your spirit is going to transition, aka, because you can't see it. You can't see it. It's unseen. You can't see a spirit. So that's a transition. It's going to transition into another state and go back to Reraine, go back to Otoro, or go back to the mind, or what you call the consciousness, or move outward into the atmosphere. Reraine, mehomo isoke, reraine, kurera, atmosphere, kurera. Now, if your spirit is now relatable, meaning when you die, if you are aligning with the positive or the harmonious energies, aka if you are good, if when God looked at you, he was like happy to see you and whatever you are up to, then your spirit remains in the atmosphere, aka matuine. Your spirit remains into the atmosphere, aka into the heavens, into the most expanded. Now, when it remains into the expanded, this means that your mind or your spirit now is free to expand and grow. Now you can expand, take a lighter body. When you're expanded, you pick a bigger body, meaning it's more expanded, it's more lighter. Okay? Or you are going to grow, your spirit can grow. So this carries forward the ability to think, line of reasoning, and feel in ways that are in sync or meaningful. So this is why we say that when you die, you're going to go to hell, or when you die, you're going to go to heaven, depending on your deeds, okay? Now, this expansion now is what is allowing the spirit to transcend. And it's transcending from its previous limitations. So before, you're in an animal body. Before, you are a bug, you are an insect. Now you are into the body of a man. So you are transcending beyond the limitations that you had before. So you're developing greater abilities beyond the physical forms that you once inhabited. What do I mean? This is why you cannot remember your life before. This is why you cannot remember unless you are a true alchemist or someone who has done this so many times that you can actually have a memory. And this is a skill. You have to know how to create a memory that you can go to when you die. And a lot of you don't even know how to do that. So this is why you cannot remember your life, because the previous life form that you are in, when you die, your mind, if you're on an expansive state, your spirit, your mind can only inhabit something that is bigger, that is greater. Meaning, your mind cannot, so it sheds those other memories. So the other memories are too small for you. Where how you used to be an animal, living in the caves, na vitu kama hizo. That is why you forgot how to hunt. That is why you have forgotten how to, most of your skills are forgotten, what you call evolution. You get it? Now, if on the other hand, your spirit now is negative, wewe ulikuwa mtu wa shetani, wewe ulikuwa, you are misaligned, you are abandoned by the generational curses, the generational traumas, the generational things that were binding you down. So your spirit was unresolved. It had unresolved issues. Okay, unresolved issues ndio hizo. Now they have to rev the car. Ikona unresolved issues. Otherwise, ingeguruma na iende. Okay? So let's move away from that unresolved issue to maliza hii life. Now, so on the other hand, if your spirit had unresolved issues, generational curses, generational traumas, megabo, thina, wikirio ni andu anyu megabo, thina, maundu magita mau, what happens is that you become stuck. Your spirit may become stuck. So instead of expanding, it contracts. So instead of your spirit expanding, it contracts. Okay? Now, when it contracts, it remains in what you can call a limited space. A limited space. And when you're in a limited space, you don't have a lot of possibilities. So now that limitation or that contraction that puts you in a limited space, these are the spirits that don't achieve the same level of growth, because now you are trapped within the patterns and the energies that you created during life. And one of the ways that you can actually see this is when you're having nightmares. When you are having nightmares. One day we'll talk about nightmares on a deeper level. Now, that process of you not reaching your full potential, okay? So when you expand as a spirit now, when you shut the fuck up. Ama mfunze ni nyamaze. Shout out to the birds. Masiaragi heno, ucio ni undu. So when the birds are making all that noise, maramaanisha hena mbogo, hau hena undu ndirauga, ucio niguo undu, Ngai ni mundu. Nie ndina Ngai. Come on now. Okay? Ucio ni undu. So, when the spirit expands now, it becomes more mature. You become more capable. Your spirit is more capable, more mature. It's like an adult spirit. Your maana nilisema, if you have a baby spirit, you cannot stay on this channel. You keep it moving. So, however, if your spirit fails to evolve, so your spirit didn't evolve, didn't grow. So even after receiving grace, aka unasemanga, may the grace of our Lord, or all those opportunities that you get. When you're saying the grace, you're just saying, may the grace of our Lord be upon us. You're asking for grace so that you can have an opportunity for growth. Hiyo ndio unasemanga unataka for. It's just an opportunity for you to continue growing. You get it? Now your spirit might regress, aka your spirit might now make you behave in a childish or immature way. So besides having the potential for becoming great or transcending higher, now you are limited. Now you are limited. So though you need those moments for you to grow, you don't have it. So what happens now? This is where now external influences, okay? External influences now have to come in and help you. Okay? So since you are immature as a spirit, so the spirit needs external influences. So these are things like religions, these are things like cultures. And these experiences, or what you call these relationships, can also be challenges. So your spirit needs to be challenged for it to expand. So here comes the cult now. So to help you grow and to help you become more relatable, you need to be challenged. You need a relationship. You need a new experience. Because without this, your spirit is risking to be stagnant, or your spirit is risking to operate at a lower octave. That is why you say hell is low. Though everything is in reverse. Actually, what is low is high, and what is high is low. So you start repeating those negative behaviors, the traumas that you had, the generational curses you had, na vitu kama hizo. So instead of you reaching your full potential as a spirit, you start reincarnating. Okay? So this is what happens. Think about it like this. That process of you encountering experiences or new people or external influences can be likened to burning away. And what are you burning away? That thing that is holding you back. So this looks like shedding old habits, traumas, attachments. And the reason you need to shed these attachments, the reason you need to shed these traumas, the reason you need kuigerera mugabo iguru wa mugabo. Okay? You have the power of the tongue. Speak life into the people who have been speaking negative over you. You have that power. You have the power to override programs and codes that have been put before you. Those words that they have been saying, your parents and all those people, you have the power to override those words by saying, he who wields the word, he who wields the word, wields the power. In the beginning was the word. And the word was with God. And the word was God. He who wields the power. He who wields the power. Akuhoroherie. Ati ni wabatara mundu oke akuhoroherie. Ma nonsense mingi sana. Ati ni wabatara mundu oke agwikire igongona na ti mugongoni ona ndae no gotho. So that is the question. So how did the other one haria cult yathondekeirwo? I want you to see where the cult came from. So when you go through now these external forces, the churches, the cults, na vitu zingine kama hizo, when you shed old behaviors, whenever you shed old habits, you are left naked. Let's say, for example, you are used to choking the monkey. Let's say, for example, you are used to smoking. The moment you stop doing something, you are always left naked. Naked. You are like a spirit. Naked. This is where in the Bible they were talking about covering themselves with leaves na vitu kama hizo. Every time you shed an old habit, every time you shed a trauma or an attachment so that your spirit can expand, you'll always be naked. This is why when people need to quit smoking, they have to use tobacco patches. When people want to stop a habit that they were doing, they have to pick a new one. You get what I'm saying? Because your spirit will always feel naked. You'll always feel vulnerable because that is something you are already doing. Now, so here's now where everything gets complicated now. This is now where everything gets complicated. Because remember, you are continuing on that path of self-improvement. Umeamua, I'm going to continue. I'm committed to my growth. Okay? So when you're on that path of self-improvement, where everything will be feeling uncomfortable. You used to smoke, you used to get the nicotine high. Now you can no longer do that. You used to choke your monkey, so you used to experience that small death, but now you can no longer do that. So this is where now it gets complicated. Now, do you see all these damaged spirits that are around you? Because everything, the people surround you, the people, places, and things. So, things get complicated whereby the damaged spirits. Now, let me give you an example. Let's say you are a culture, Negekoyo. You are a culture, a tribe, the Gekoyo. So you are destroyed. Concentration camps and your lands taken. Though that is not the story. The actual story is actually that you gave up your lands. You gave them your lands. You gave up everything. Okay, hakuna mahali ya mlipigiana uhuru. Kama mngepigiana uhuru, hata saizi hamungekubali finance bill iende through, whereby mtakuwa mnalipa land rates, mtakuwa mnalipa taxes ya shamba, kama unalima hata kama ulipi for 10%. So it is the same story that was back then. Hakuna kitu imebadilika. Ndio maana nikuambia, if this is not your channel, keep going. Because on this channel, we speak common sense. We speak common sense. Now, here's the thing. These damaged spirits, now this will be the Kikuyus or the people who are destroyed. What happens? What happens? You seek others like yourselves. When you are damaged, you seek others like yourself. Let me give you an example. When you go to Kakuma or when you go to Dadaab camp, whom do you find there? You find refugees together. Why are the refugees together? Because as a spirit, you seek others who are like you, who are going through the same trauma like you. Do you get it? You bond over shared pain. So now you are in the concentration camps. Now you are in Gaza. Shout out to Vibes Cartel Mavado. When you're najua ichane kwa nini nimesema hivyo umejua. Why we don't mention some names. So now you are in a concentration camp. Ukaigua ni mahigiro manyani concentration camp. Ukaigua na haha oguo githie kiria na haha ogithi Kanyariri. Ni hali na concentration camp. Kanyariri hapa ukienda Fort Praise. And shout out to the people at Fort Praise and Kikuyu Love Session and all the beautiful people around that place. Ugidina Kanyariri, and shout out to a great man that used to work with my father, Etagwa Mr. Kamenwa. Okay? Within how Kanyare ni na concentration camp. So what happens? These spirits, these people, you look for others that are like you. So you are bonding over a shared pain. So you are forming connection based on trauma rather than genuine harmony. So when the Kikuyus were raped and pirated and their culture destroyed and everything, they bonded. They bonded over shared pain. Oh, mau, nemo, moto, maga, and all those songs. Romateri, romateri. So you bonded over shared pain. So you form connections based on trauma rather than genuine harmony. So since you already defeated, you couldn't believe it. You're like, shit. We have really been defeated. We have the Church of Kemore. You get it? They did it on purpose. Okay? You had so many sycamore trees. You had the same way they did to the native Indians, where they massacred the great buffaloes. They did the same to your megumo trees. They cut your megumo trees intentionally, and they cut so many of them down. So for the Gikuyu people, they were like, shit, tumeisha. So over time, that bond creates something synthetic. That trauma bond creates something synthetic. Over time, that becomes something synthetic. So this is now where a cult seed, remember, the Gikuyu culture, the cult seed. Todoririkane, idu tutiria maithe maito. No, Gikuyu is not about maithe maito. We were for our wiki, aka you as an individual spirit, you knew as an individual spirit, You are as an individual spirit, and then you work with the others collectively, each one teach one, and toreige ado omwene modo niede modo toreige point of reference for the first time do re do. You get it? Now do re mi fa sol la ti do, D delta dalet mlango, hiyo ni Hebrews. Haya, so those. Now, the cult seed now has been planted. That is how you plant the cult seed. That is why when you go to Kakuma, uta realize all those people think the same way. Okay? All these refugees, they think the same way. Angalia town. Enda town. Ukienda Mudhurwa saa hizi, uone Makongeni, utakutana na Marwandis wanauza kahawa na njugu na ngumu na kaimati, ndio walikuja na hiyo nonsense. Now, shout out to watu wa Kangumu na KDF. So, you are going to find that those Rwandese have bonded. Wanakuanga kimoja, wako mpaka na chama. Wako na mkubwa wao chama. I met their leader. Kuna wakati nilikuwa nimeenda police Makongeni police station. My son had a misdemeanor. Kitu uniforce. And shout out to Mwaura from Rongai. He came all the way. Alikuwa ametoka Nakuru kuona actually Mwaura alikuwa ametoka kuona nani? Brian chairman, ujema wa spinal cord. Brian chairman alikuwa ametoka kumuona na alikuwa ametravel, so actually he came and brought me coffee nikiwa Makongeni. Shout out to Mwaura, Sundiata Mwaura. So for coming all the way to Makongeni, nikamit mkubwa wa Marwandis huko, kwa sababu my son alikuwa ameenda akanyang'anya wa Marwandis pesa. Akamwambia mnaniambia nini? Huku si kwenyu. Nitakuwa nakula KDF na silipi. So akashtakiwa akaenda police station, my firstborn. Now, so over time that bond creates that cult seed. Now in that cult seed, this is now where the harmful behaviors or what you call beliefs are justified collectively. In that cult seed, remember hapa ni trauma bonding. Sasa hapo ndio hiyo seed inakuanga cultivated. Harmful behaviors, dhili wa soso, nonsense, hizo zote. That is not Kikuyu's ideology. Usio tuwira wa. Okay? Hizo sasa ni zile cult zilitoka. And remember, these are the same people who also taught you how to beat your wives. These people are the same people who taught you how to beat your wives as Kikuyu men. Okay? So, these harmful behaviors or beliefs, sasa wakiwa in that trauma bond, now this is justified. We are refugees. We have been raped and pirated. Romateri, gekoyo akwiria rometeteri. Mau, nemo, gumo, maka. All that now. That was justified now. So collectively, behind what you call closed doors, these groups, now they start to perpetuate what you call dysfunctions. They start clinging to unhealthy dynamics under the guise of unity. So in that guise of unity, that is where now the cult cultivates a culture. Cultivate a culture. So, hapa sasa ndio tukienda deeper. Tutaingia tuongee maneno. Let me first of all see who is in the comments before niongee maneno. Gato alihoro wa aka. Nice, nimeona. I can continue on this. So now, this is now what brings us to that concept of ogo ni oge, na ruha ne tuwagia na mudu wina oge. No ririkane haha hena mudu wina oge, gutire mudu utare nogo wake. Haha niho tukoragwo na wainga, the keepers. Now, traditionally, alchemy or ogo involves transformation and elevation. That's how it's supposed to be happening. Now, when now you are, I'm looking for the best word for this. But it's a code, it's not a name. It's a code, and there are some names or codes you're not just to misuse. So I'm looking for an English name, because the actual name of, if I say the actual name, that's calling on a that's a powerful calling, and you don't just call some words for no reason. So tuge imbo, tutumie jina imbo, tutumie imba. So ogo imbo ni distorted versions of the process ya hiyo jina sitaki kusema sasa. So for example, some entities that were once divine, aka ate nituri githito tuitagira thakame, nituri githito tuhihinyagira. Githito is a sigil, never forget that. And the spirit understands sign and symbols and sigil. Ugithimiherega kenda, and shout out to miherega kenda, this is just for learning purposes only. Ni ukora githito gikoragwo gigeivati, ugakora ati twina thumbe ya green na black na white, na ni hari githito gikiragwo, there's a tin mukeve wikiragwo hau ivati. Ni turi ari horo wa tin, ni turi ari horo wa mercury na maundu mangi tamo. Ni turi ari kire gitumaga muhoi uri okuhoyaga besa akuhoya na tin, akuhoya na ikombe. Tin ni ya kuigwirwo tha. That is why when a beggar is begging with a tin made of tin makes a cup. A cup is made out of tin. Tin is a material. When a beggar begs with a tin, you are more likely to give him money than him begging with a piece of wood or a piece of ceramic. You get it? Okay? So ni hari the reason for githito kiu turari horo wake tukauga githondeketwo na tin ni ya kuigwirwo tha. So sasa hiyo ndio inaitangwa imbo, alchemy imbo. So these are the distorted versions of that process. For example, energies that were once divine and powerful, now they can fall, now they can degrade over time. So now they manifest as toxic or destructive forces of on earth. Ruhani twajia kwari uhoro wa rihamathire, rihathire wa bini ya tata and all those things. So this originate from individuals mawirigo fulani or groups who once embodied high spiritual ideals. Nyogothi ukore ate ago aito first originally they were holding high spiritual ideals, and shout out to all of them. Akina Gukawa Moranga, may his soul rest in peace. Akina Baba Aidera, this is for teaching purposes only. So these are individuals or groups, shout out to Miherega Kenda and everybody else. But they became corrupted through the misuse of their power or failure to evolve. Si kitu ingine. So wani watu walikataa ku-evolve, matirenda guthie na kuria turi, matirenda ku-evolve. Oregwa makiuga ati muthuri ndagĩrĩirwo ni gukwagararwo ni mutumia, ati mutumia angihutia muthuri na kaida ka mweri ni athaha, hakuna kitu kama hiyo. So those things are closed cycles. Those are closed cycles. They used to work then depending on where we were then, but not anymore. The world is expanding. We're in a new world, especially right now we're in a very new world. So in a sense, our actions and intentions determine whether we ascend or whether we descend spiritually. So it's on you. It's not on anybody else. So mimi naweza kuambia tu hivi, shout out to the doves. Tulisema tunafanyia kwa gate number 2. Hiyo ni number 2. Now we have 2 doves resting on the whatever lines, come on, the telephone lines, and you have to look at the dove also. What dove is this? It's all for peace. The dove represents peace. Okay, wameenda dayo no agithira. So either you ascend spiritually, my data imeisha, or descend spiritually. That's your choice. So my data imeisha, nilikuwa nimenunua 1 GB. So shout out to everyone in the comment, each one teach one. Teamwork makes the dream work. Na Mobiwa waruga nonsense kabisa, ni nonsense ujali. Amwezi understand. Naona. So those are the people who cannot evolve. Bereda alihe dhire wa soso, alihe bini ya tata. Yet I'm speaking of things that have been there, done that. I've been everywhere when it comes to these things, so I know what the fuck I'm talking about. Ni sawa sawa. Do have a beautiful Friday, love and appreciation. Let me walk the remaining 1 kilometer to my gate. Shout out to the stick that we picked on the road, Moses Staff Road, na vitu kama hizo. So that is how a cult is derived. So I want you to look at your culture. Uangalie culture yako, uniambie, is your culture a cult? Have they refused to evolve? Okay? Maikare na otoro, tuikare ta doire, oyo otoire. You get it? But to evolve and expand. Ni sasa, in the next live, tutaongea maneno ya awa, eto awa, kule aliumete, soke tuwali horo wa aka ni kuga ati akati mundu muka, ati oyo ni mundu muka asa, mundu muka ni guka, oyo ni mundu muka, ni wa guka, ni mundu muka, a female ti aka, a female ni ga, female ni